Welcome to the debauchery. We have such sights to show you.
Here's Johnny!
All you have left is my desire for you.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Welcome back to another episode of Fright Flick FMK, where we watch the horror movies and then we let you know if we would rather fuck it, marry it, or kill it. This is that time of the week, people. I need you to run to the kitchen. I need you to go fill up your favorite beverage. I need you to pull up a chair because it's time we jump into another horror movie. And on this week's episode, we got us a doozy, in my opinion, because this was one that I kind of scrolled past it numerous times. I seen the name of it, and the name of it just made me think, I don't know. It just didn't, I don't know why I didn't check it out. And so recently over the weekend, I decided that I was going to watch it. Me and my wife were looking for something to watch, and I'd seen it. And I was like, it's been on my list. I added it to, how you can go through and put that shit on your watch list. So this one I'd seen on Tubi. I put it on the watch list maybe a week ago. And so I was like, we were looking for something to watch over the weekend, and I was like, shit, it's been on the list. Let me check it out. And so after I watched it, I was like, I think I want to do a show on this one. But before we get into it, I just want to give a thank you to all you little Fright Flick fucks out there who listen to this shit show. I appreciate you all hanging around and stopping by and, giving us a listen. The few, the proud, I appreciate it. Go check us out on social media. You're not going to find a whole lot of, I don't spend a whole lot of time on it. We do have Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. I spend some time on there. You're not going to go there and be like, holy shit, look at all this fancy. It's not nothing like that. And but we're on there. Sometimes I will give a heads up on what shows are coming up. Sometimes I'll put out like once the show's out. Sometimes I will post some just random raunchy shit that I may find on, some of them fucked up meme pages I like to follow. But yeah, frightflickfmkpodcast.com is the website. It should be above your head if you're seeing this on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcast platform, it should be in the description below. You just click on the link, it should take you there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the housekeeping. I don't like to spend a whole lot of time on it. This week, like I said before, there's never a plan with me. It is just whatever I may come across that hits me just right and think I'll do a show on it. And so this was one of those. I'm recording this. This is, I think, Tuesday, and I just decided earlier today I was going to do a show on it after I watched it over the weekend. And at first I was kind of hesitant to do it because this is one of those that it may not come across as horror to a lot of people. It may come across as more of a thriller, psychological type thing, but that's okay. Horror is different for different people. Like me, I am terrified of snakes and spiders. Like that's the two things that just scare the shit out of me. And so there could be a movie that has to do with the snake or spiders that may not be considered. Some people may think, oh, that's not really horror. But for me, anything that throws a snake or spider across the fucking screen scares the shit out of me, and I would classify that as horror. And this one is one of those that some people may see the title, and it's been around. This came out in 2017, so it's been around. A lot of people have probably seen it. So when I spoil the shit out of it, you shouldn't feel bad. Well, don't be upset. But certain things in it that comes across as horror. And so I thought about it like earlier today. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to talk about that one or if I should find something else. And I decided to talk about it. Uh, on this show, we rate it on Fuck, Marry, Kill. Marrying it being the best. That's the one you could every single day of any day of the week you could pop it in and listen to it. Fucking it is your friends with benefits. That's your just every now and then you could call that one up. You know you're gonna get your little fix in. That's your friends with benefits. Your fuck, and then the kill is the kill. It's the sea donkey. It's the you did it. You wasn't proud of it, but you did it. Now you never want to bump into it again. So that's how we rate them here. Um, this one is I haven't even given you the title yet, have I? Let me this one we're covering this week is going to be called The Killing of a Sacred Deer, 2017. And it's been around for a minute, so I feel sure a lot of people have heard of it, have probably seen it. I have not until over the weekend. It was something about the name. Maybe I don't know what it was that kind of stopped me from really like jumping on it. Maybe it was just I thought it was going to be more drama because I didn't really. Like I said, I don't ever really watch trailers a lot until after I watch a movie, and I don't really get onto websites until usually after I watch a movie. So after I watched this one, I was like, okay, do I or don't I want to do a show on it? So if you're here now, you're listening. Of course, my decision was yes, I'm going to fucking do a show on it because that's what we're here for. So if you've had enough time by now, you should have had time to run to the kitchen. You've had enough time to mix up your beverage, whatever it may be, for us here at this show. For the Fright Flick FMK, it is always Gentleman Jack. And so that is what is right here, right now, in the lovely Yeti. Hold on one second, people. Everybody together. Grab your drink. Hold on. Gentleman Jack break. Thank you. But and I tell people all the time, we go better with alcohol. I highly recommend drinking while listening to this shit show. It just goes down better. But yeah, the killing of a sacred deer. I want to read you a little bit of the little description of this thing that I think I got this one off of Rotten Tomatoes. Some people say that tomato, mater, from a southern folk, rottenmater.com, excuse me. So that's kind of where I got this. But Dr. Stephen Murphy is a renowned cardiovascular surgeon who presides over a spotless household with his wife and 2 children. Lurking at the margins of his, it's a word that I should have pronounced and figured out how to say it before I got on here, and I just realized that I can't pronounce that word. Idyllic, that word. Idyllic, I don't know. Like his idea, maybe that's kind of what it means, of the suburban existence is Martin, a fatherless teen who insinuates himself into the doctor's life in gradually unsettling ways. Soon, the full scope of Martin's intent becomes menacingly clear when he confronts Stephen with a long-forgotten transgression that will shatter his domestic bliss forever. And maybe I should have got on here and read that before I read it. And I never have a plan, people. You've been around long enough, you should know. I could have got on here earlier and read this and go to Google Translate and have it say it the way it should be said. I did not do that. I did not do all the homework, but that's how we do it here. Nothing fancy, nothing deep. We're just what you see is what you get, folks. This one is directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. Lanthimos. Yorgos Lanthimos. He's also directed another movie that's on my watch list that is probably going to be on this show eventually, called Dogtooth. I haven't seen it. It's on my watch list, so don't spoil it for me. And it will probably be a show I get on here and talk about eventually. And I did not know that until earlier today, and I hit my brother up, and I was like, "Hey, this is the movie I checked out. I'm thinking about talking about it." And he was like, and that's when he mentioned, he was like, "Oh, he also directed Dogtooth, which is also on my watch list." And but some of the cast in this one, they got some big names in this one. We got Colin Farrell in it. I'm a big fan of Colin Farrell. I just watched one of his older movies over the weekend called Tigerland. And I'm a military guy. I've been in the military. I love military movies. So I have seen it before, but it's been many years. And so Tigerland was on over the weekend. I watched it and definitely recommend checking that out. Definitely not, it's not a horror movie, but it's just a good movie, especially if you're into like military type movies like I am. It also has our Clueless girl for a short amount of time, Alicia Silverstone. Clueless is a movie that you all know, and I'm not ashamed to say that I enjoy the movie Clueless. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it is one of those that I enjoy watching. I like that movie. She's in it for not long. She's not a big part in it. She's plays the mother of our main character, Martin. This also has Nicole Kidman, another big name, Keith Urban's wife. Nicole Kidman first grabbed my attention back in a movie called Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise in it. That's when I kind of first had a, then whole Nicole Kidman like, oh, like my little crush back in the Days of Thunder days. And that's a lot of people ain't gonna know that movie. That's like a NASCAR racing type movie. I'm a big NASCAR fan, big racing fan. So I was that's another movie that movie's not a horror movie at all. It's a racing movie, but it is a Mary for me because I could watch Days of Thunder any day of the week. But like I said, Nicole Kidman's in it. It also has Barry, my main man Barry. If I fuck up your last name, dude, if you come across this somehow, I apologize. But Barry Cogan, Keoghan. He plays Martin, one of the main characters in this thing. He also played in the newer movie that just came out that I've just watched probably one day last week, Saltburn. And it is a go fucking watch Saltburn if you have not watched it. That is, I don't know if I really consider that a horror movie. It's more psychological thriller type. But if I had to rate that one, Saltburn is it's a Mary all day long. That movie was so good. I enjoyed that one. And so that's who he plays, Barry. Knocked it out of the park in fucking Saltburn. And before I even get any type of rating on it thing, once again, Barry killed it in this movie. This kid just comes across as fucking creepy and fucking nuts in this movie. So that's some of the main names in this one. The main character names, I don't spend a lot of time on the cast. I get all of it from IMDb or Wikipedia if it's on there, but you can look them up. Some of the main characters in this movie that we're going to be talking about is the dad, Colin Farrell, who is Steve. Steve, I won't call him Steve. His wife is Nicole Kidman, she goes in Anna in the movie. They have two kids, Kim and Bob. Kim is played by Rafi Cassidy, and I actually put it in a little note. Bob's played by Sonny Suljic, Suljic. I'm not sure. I just like the first name Sonny. I think that's pretty fucking cool. So we got Steven the dad, Anna the mom, Kim and Bob are their two kids. Uh, so when this one, and I tell people every week that I'm going to spoil the shit out of these movies. I talk about a movie just like you're sitting across from me right now. If you had a drink in front of you and you're sitting across in this table, and I was just like, oh shit, dude, let me tell you about this movie I just watched. That's kind of how I do it. It's not going to be fancy. I'm not going to have some deep thoughts about the movie and what this may mean or what this. I'm. You've been around long enough, family. There's nothing deep about me, but I just want to dive into this thing now, and we'll kind of go through the whole thing. When this one kicks off, we're going to get us a scene of like an open heart surgery going on. And I read a little thing after I had watched it and did a few notes on it. I read a thing that where in the opening scenes when they're showing like this open heart looking surgery, what it looks like to me, apparently that's legit. Like that's a real thing. Like that wasn't fake. That was like an actual surgery that was going on that Colin Farrell was there for, and that was like some legit shit of like some open heart looking shit. And then it shows that for a few seconds, and then it shows the doc taking off all his stuff. He's dropping the rubber gloves, the gown, and that's when we get our dude Colin Farrell. Once again, I'm a fan of Colin Farrell. I'm a huge Batman fan. He played Penguin in the Batman movie. Just the other day, I was watching the Horrible Boss movies. I don't strictly always watch horror. Every now and then I like to, throw a little something funny in. And I'm a big fan of the Horrible Boss movies. And of course he plays in, I think it was the first one he played in. Colin Farrell's got a lot of good stuff, man. But so he's taking his gloves off. The surgery's over. It shows him walking down the hall and he's talking to a friend of his, Matthew. And they're talking about some watches. Like he's asking him about his watch, and Matthew's telling him like, "Oh, my watch, I got it here. I can put you in contact with my guy." Apparently, these rich doctor folks have a guy. Like, "Hey, man, let me put you in touch with my guy. He will get you on a watch. Like your watch goes to 100 meters. My guy get you a watch to 200 meters." And that's kind of what they were talking about. Like 200 meters. I will put you in touch with my watch guy. He will get you to 200 meters. Even though, fuckers, we ain't diving to 200 meters. We know this. But it just sounds cool, I guess. You can say, like, I got a watch guy. They can get you this bad boy right here. That'll get you 200 meters. So that kind of went on for a second. And then we catch the doc, Steve, Colin Farrell, Steve. He's at this little diner, one of these little local diners where you see in movies and shit. It's just like the little local stuff, where you reckon the same waitress every day, the same. You come in there where somebody could get to know you and know like that's your usual. Like you come in, you sit down, like you want the usual. Is it going to be eggs over easy, cheesy grits with some sausage, bacon, and some toast on the side? That's my regular. And so it's one of them small little diners. And we get the doc sitting there. When I say doc, I'm talking about Steve. And the doc's sitting there, and he's with like this teenager, teenage boy. The teenage boy is going to be Martin, played by my dude Barry that we were speaking of earlier. He's sitting there, having, I'm assuming lunch, because at one point Martin asked the doc if he wants anything like chicken wings or anything, and they're just kind of sitting there. And then they're having their lunch, and then we catch the two out on it's not like a pier, but it's like the edge of some water type shit. I read something right before I got on here, like this may have took place in Cincinnati. I don't know. That's just something I came across. They're sitting there on this pier looking area, because you see some water in the background, the city line, and Colin's having him, the doc's having him a smoke, and you got the little teenage dude sitting there, and they're talking, and Steve, the doctor, tells him, "Oh, I bought you a gift." And when the dude kind of like, oh, what'd you get me? And he opens it up and it's a watch. It's a watch. And when I seen it was a watch, I'm like, was that why the old dude was talking earlier about the watch thing? You know, did he have in mind that you wanted to get this teenager a 200-meter watch? Like, I don't know. But he opens it up and it's kind of weird because you're seeing it and I'm thinking like, what is this fucking relationship with this grown ass man and this teenager? Like, what is this? It's not his son. It's not like that. It's just at first it kind of gives you that creepy vibe. Are you one of them like creepy folks that like, like diddling with the little kids type shit? That at first I thought that. I'm like, dude, is this one of these little sick fucks that like to has a thing for little boys? That's what I thought at first. So then they have their little, give him the watch, and then even the little fucking Martin's kind of like asking him, like, can I give you a hug? And he like hugs him and shit. And I'm just like, it was just creepy, man. Like right out of the gate, I'm questioning like, what the fuck is going on here? Are you diddling the little boys? You sick fuck, Dr. Steve? That's what I'm thinking, And then we get home for the evening. And when I say home, we're back at Dr. Steve's house. He's home with the family. I told you earlier, Nicole Kidman, Anna, their two kids, Bob and Kim. And they're sitting around having their dinner. And they are so fucking proper. They just ooze like that rich, snobby, God, the way they talked, it was like, what the fuck, man? Like, I could not sit at a dinner table with people like that. I'm just not built that way, man. Because at one point, like the mom, Anna looks over at Bob. Bob is a little young teenager kid, a little young kid, not super old, not super young. And she's like telling him like to sit up straight. You know how you used to see that shit all the time, like, sit up straight, blah, blah, blah. And she's talking to him like that. And she's like asking, and I asked Steve, like, how was your day? And it's almost like if you had to fake what the perfect book family should look like. If you were putting on a fucking play and you just wanted people to think that you've got it figured out, man. Like, you've got it all. You're checking all the boxes. That's what they come across as. They're just the way they're talking to each other. And that at one point, Steve, the dad, asked Bob, why didn't you get a haircut? Little man's got some long hair. And Bob can't be, and every time I say Bob, it just makes me think of an older person. But little Bob here looks to maybe 10, 11, maybe. Like I said, I don't judge ages very well. But that's just me. Because the daughter is looks to be 15, 14 maybe. And he's asking Bob, like, why didn't you get a haircut? And I'm just like, what the fuck little man supposed to do? Like, dude, like 10 or 11. He can't get in the car, drive to the barbershop, get his fucking haircut. Damn it, Dad, take him to the fucking barbershop. And you're telling him, because he makes a comment towards him, like being a fucking asshole. And he's like, if you don't get your hair cut, I'll feed it to you or some shit like that. Just real fucking, just asshole type way. But I'm just sitting there going like, what the fuck you expect little dude to do? Do you want him just to grab some clippers, just shave that shit off? I'm like, there's got to be a barber that you could take him to. Like, you putting it all on little man here to go fucking get his hair cut. And then you got Kim while all this is going on, because when he's asking him about getting a haircut, Mama Anna's telling him like, oh, I like your long hair. Because little dude, Bob, got some long hair, nice flowy locks. And so Mom's like, well, I like his long hair. Then you got a little fucking teenage daughter across the table that needs that like, I don't know, I almost come across kind of jealous that little Bob was getting some attention. Because she even asked her mom, she's just kind of like, do you like my hair? And I'm just like, come on, bitch. Like, shit. She's talking about Bob's hair, but you need to have your little feel good about yourself moment. Like, you need a mommy to go, oh, baby, you got very beautiful hair too. Blah, 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 whatever. Then later on that night, we're upstairs. It is night time. The kids are in bed. We're upstairs in the bedroom of Anna and the good old Doc Steve. He tells her, like, it's time to go to bed. You're turning lights out. That's what you're thinking. Well, then the good doctor gonna be like, he's telling her to like turn some lights on, please. Well, she's turning some lights on, making it brighter up in there. Well, then she's standing at the side of the bed. He's in the bed. She's standing outside the bed. And then she asks him in a question mark way, like, general anesthetics? Like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why are we throwing these big, numerous syllable words out right now? And he like agrees to it. Well, then next thing you know, she takes a little robe off. She got the bra and panties on, the cold Kim. Kudos to you. She like gets on the bed and she lays down on the bed. But when she lays on the bed, she kind of like on the foot of the bed, her head is hanging off. And she almost has this, like, is she dead or passed out kind of look to her. When I heard her say general anesthetics, I'm like, well, are you pretending like you are a knocked out patient? And then there were many more questions that was coming through my mind already about the good Dr. Steve. One, earlier, are you diddling little boys, Steve? And now we got your wife laid out across the bed, either one, playing like she's dead, or two, like she's a patient that has been put under, and that turns you on. Like, was this your first rodeo, Steve? Have you done this with other patients? That's what I'm, my sick mind was going to. Well, she's kind of laying there on the bed, head kind of draped off the foot of the bed, not moving, either dead or knocked the fuck out. Well, then while she's doing this, you see Dr. Steve starts rubbing the old cock. He starts rubbing the old dick. Start getting it worked up. He's liking what he's seeing right now. He likes this old girl laid out across the bed, not moving, motionless, lifeless. And he's like rubbing old hand on the old cock, getting it worked up. And I'm like, oh, you little sick freak. And then you see him come up over Anna, and he's like kissing on her neck, kissing on the boobies, and kind of working his way, getting ready to do a thing. Then he like, next thing you know, he's taking his t-shirt off. Then you see him pulling the panties off, and that's all you're going to get, people. I know I had you going there for a minute. You was getting a little worked up, but hey, that's all you're getting because this bad boy jumps to the next day. But yeah, not sure what all that, I don't know what was going through the good doctor's mind. Maybe he needs certain things to get him up and get him going. Maybe it was and like I said, I was wondering, was she supposed to pretend like because at one point while this is going on, he kind of grabs her arm because it was hanging off the bed and he kind of pulls it up next to her. And I'm like, is she pretending to be dead or knocked out? And if she is pretending to be knocked out, is she doing this because this is what gets you going? And then I'm wondering, who I would never want to be on that doctor's operating table. That motherfucker say count down 10, 9, 8. I'd be like, whoa, flag on the play. No. I don't know what the fuck Dr. Steve's gonna do once I count my countdown. And so that was many questions with the weird dinner and just the way that they're all talking. And so then the next day we're at work. We get Dr. Steve walking down the hall. As he passes by like a waiting room area, we catch the boy Martin is there. And it's creepy because I'm just like, dude, he looks like a teenager. I'm thinking to myself, shouldn't your fucking ass be in school right now? But he sees him and he basically tells the little boy that, oh, you need to call first. You don't just show up, you need to call first. I could be in surgery. I could be doing this. And the whole time it's giving this little fucking, are you a little pee-pee toucher, Steve, type thing. Like, he touched my pee-pee, Steve. That's kind of what it was giving this vibe on. Like, he had this thing for this little fucking teenager. And little sick fuck. And then as Steve's talking to Martin's like, oh, I'm sorry I showed up. I just wanted to show you the watch. Apparently because he didn't like the metal banding on it. He went and got like a little leather strap on it, and so he's like showing fucking Steve the watch, and Steve's kind of going along with it. Well, then Steve's friend walks up, Matthew, and this is where it kind of threw a little. You notice it because he's like, "Hey, I just want to introduce you to Martin. Martin is a friend of my daughter's." Like he makes it sound like he goes to school with his daughter, and the way you see Martin look at him, you like, okay, fucker, you're lying. And so that night we were back home. That evening, I took it as that evening, the way it kind of flows. But they're in like Kim's bedroom. It is Daddy Steve, and Kim's on the bed working on like her little singing voice. You know that little like, me 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 me. That I can't sing, people, but that's what she was trying to do it in a nice sounding way. Me 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 me. That type of shit. And so Steve, the dad, sitting there next to her, and then we get her dude Bob's over here at her little nightstand dresser type thing. He's like brushing his hair, and he's asking her, about all the singing stuff. Really, it sounds good, and apparently she's in the choir, either at the school or something like that, in like the singing choir. And but then he asked little dude Bob, he's like, did you water the plants? 'Cause I guess they got little chores, nothing wrong with that, for kids that have things they need to do. It teaches some shit, Bob was supposed to water some plants, which he didn't do. And then Kim her job was to walk the dog, so that's I guess the two chores these little rich kids had. But, and apparently that same night, Steve and Anna were going to some little fancy little dinner thing, because it shows him, because he's in a tuxedo like looking outfit when he's talking to Kim while she's doing her like me, 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 that type of shit. So he's kind of all dressed up, and you will see them at like this little dinner that night, fancy dinner. Steve's up there giving a speech, and it's a doctor thing, man. It's one of those like bunch of rich, smart doctor folk up there. Just a bunch of boring stiffs type thing. And while he's there giving the speech, and then later on in the party that night, a friend comes up to them that offers Steve a drink. He had got the bartender to mix him up some fancy concoction. Hold on, that got me thinking, people. When I was mixing a drink, reach over, grab your beverage. We're gonna take this little break together. Gentleman Jack break, thank you. The dude comes up and he's got like whatever this fucking drink is, and he's trying to give Steve, have him try it. And Anna says, because Steve says no, but then Anna says, well, he hasn't had a drink in 3 years. Remember the 3-year part, people. We'll get back to that. And then the next thing you know, we got Anna standing there. We got Anna and Steve, the married couple, like checking all the boxes, trying to put out that perfect image of a perfect fucking family. And then we got the dude that tried to offer the drink, and then we got the good friend Matthew, who's a good friend with Colin, Dr. Steve, who was talking about the watches when they were walking down the hallway. Matthew's known him forever, good family friend. And while they're talking, Anna is telling Matthew and them, like, oh, Bob started playing the piano, their little boy, and how they're having to order a piano. Teacher says he's got a lot of talent. But then that next thing you know, Steve just comes out. Dr. Steve just comes out. He's just like, oh yeah, Kim started her period last week. And I'm just like, and they didn't even flinch at this. This was no big deal. Like, you just, I don't know that type of friendship. I will never know that type of friendship to where I could just look at somebody and be like, oh, my daughter started her period last week. But he just kind of throws it out there as casual as like, hey, did you see that game last week? That's the way it came across. Real fucking weird. And so she basically, is telling him like, hey, he's got surgery in the morning. We need to go. Then it's like the next day. Then we want to catch Steve and crazy old teenage boy Martin. They're on like a little walk together in the same looking area, kind of like the pier where they were at earlier. Same looking little area. This time we got little Martin, our little teenager, got him an ice cream cone. Walking down through there with grown ass dude, Dr. Steve, just walking. Little nice little afternoon. We got Junior here with a little fucking ice cream cone. And I'm just sitting there going, hey, you're touching this pee-pee, aren't you, Steve? That's what you're doing. And the whole time he's talking to him about having like best friends and shit like that. And then Martin says the comment like, you know, how he don't have a whole lot of friends, but he talked about how he considers his mom his friend. And when he says this, he's like, since his dad had died, they have become very close. That's when my flag went up, people. That's when my little thought bubbles come up from my head. And I got to thinking, okay, earlier we were seeing this little surgery going on. We got us a doctor. We got this fucking creepy little teenager. When he said that my dad died, it got me wondering, okay, is Martin the son of the dead dad? And was Dr. Steve the doctor that happened to be in charge the day that the daddy died? And then I'm thinking, why the fuck my phone going off like that? Hold on, people. I thought I put it on vibrate, but it didn't. It's now on vibrate. I apologize. But and so it got me thinking. I'm like, okay, does this little boy, does he know something? Is he holding something over your head? Like, did you kill this old boy's daddy on the table? And so then I was like, well, which was, you know, at least he wasn't touching his pee-pee. You know, at least it wasn't that type of relationship. You know, okay, you killed his dad on the table. He may be holding some shit over your head, but at least you're not, you know, diddling little Martin. So, and while they're out there on this little deck, on this little pier or whatever, dude's got his ice cream cone talking about how his mom's his friend. Then Steve's going to invite him over to the house. He asked Martin, I want you to come over to my house. I want you to meet my wife and kids. I think you'll really get along with them. I'm like, man, this is fucking creepy, man. Like grown ass man, this little buddy relationship with a little teenager. And now you invite him over to your house. And trust me, Martin looks fucking crazy. Just the way he talks, man. It's just like there is some shit loose. And but so he invites him over. Fucking, of course he's gonna say yeah. He comes over that evening. He shows up. He got some flowers. He got, you know, she comes up in there, meets Anna. He brings her some flowers, and she's like, "Oh, Steve's out in the yard waiting for you." You know, she takes him outside. He's out there with the whole family now because Kim and Bob walk up, and he's even got them a little gift. He bought him a little keychain. He gave fucking Kim a little keychain because he knows she likes to sing. And it's just very nice, but still fucking creepy all at the same time. Then we're going to catch them up in Kim's room hanging out. All three of them, the kids. We got Martin, we got Kim, we got little brother Bob, all up in her room, just hanging out, you know. And I'm just sitting there watching, man, is this kid fucking, is he special? Like, is he just, I don't know. He's asking like, you know, asking Kim about her singing, you know, and stuff like that. And then at one point even asked her to sing for him. And she's kind of like, no. Bob, little brother, does come out and ask him like, how old are you? And he says, I'm 16. And while he's saying this, the fucking daughter, Kim, just out of the blue, she's just like, I started my period last week. I thought, what kind of fucked up people are these? Like, who does this? Like, this is, and she says it's so normal. Like, it's just yeah, you met this dude first day you met him, and you're just like, oh, I started my period last week. You know, what the fuck do you say to that? Congratulations. Give her a round of applause. Like, good job. I don't know. And so Martin then just like, oh, do you mind if I smoke? This is a fucking nice ass house, people. They in a nice ass house. Little Bob's kind of like telling him no, and then fucking the little Kim, the daughter's kind of like, well, if you just stand by the window, and he like opens the window, lights him up a cigarette, starts smoking. First off, no, little guy, you don't do that shit in another man's house. You don't just, no, you don't. So next thing you know, Bob, little dude Bob, little young brother, ask him, like, do you have hair under your armpits? Like, he's curious. I don't know. And Martin's like, well, yes, I do. And then Bob wants to see the armpits. He wants to see the armpit hair. Martin pulls his shirt up, shows him the armpit hair. And after he does this, you got little fucking daughter over there. Kim, she's just like, oh, you have a nice body. I'm just like, come on, mom and dad, Steve and Anna, you need to bust up in there and break this little fucking shit show up. I don't know what kind of weird shit's going on up there. But one, who lets this random kid be up in your house upstairs with your fucking daughter and your little son? Like, what does he have over you, Dr. Steve, that you let this little motherfucker do whatever he wants to? That's the shit I'm wondering. But then Martin asked Kim if she wants to go for a walk. Bob said he don't want to go. He's going to stay back and listen to music. So next thing you know, we got, Kim and Martin going to go for a walk. She wants to take the dog. Little dude Martin says, no, I don't feel comfortable with dogs. He gets a whole little spill of why. But they go for a walk. Red lights, red flags, whatever. You just let your daughter leave the house with this kid and just go on a walk together. No questions asked. Did they even go to Steve and Anna and be like, hey, can we go for a walk? No, they did not, because later on at the dinner table, Anna will ask where they went. But out on this walk, next thing you know, we catch Anna kind of leaning up against a tree. She didn't want to sing for Martin earlier, but now here she is leaning back against this tree singing this song. Not that great, in my opinion. If Dr. Steve is paid for singing lessons and you're in this choir, and what I hear while you're up against this tree, not impressed. You're no Taylor Swift, not even close. I don't remember the song she was singing. It sounded familiar, something about burn, 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 burn. I don't fucking know. But either way, I was still distracted by the fact that these two parents let their daughter just go on just not be in the house. Like, when mom's like, where did you go? Like, so you knew they left the house. You realized that they left the house, and that was okay. Didn't get it. But now they're at dinner that night. Martin is amazed by the homemade lemonade that Anna has made. He's making comments about, like, the house is nice, the rooms are so nice, big and bright, the neighborhood's so nice, and she kind of asked him, and he's kind of like, well, my neighborhood's not nice, and plays this, like, just a fucking weirdo, man. And then after dinner that night, fucking nut boy has gone home for the night. We're upstairs. Anna's talking to Steve about, like, oh, he seems like a really charming boy. And apparently she asked him, like, how did his dad die? And he said, oh, he died in a car wreck. And he goes, that's how I know him. I guess he was, like, there after when the car wreck happened. And he even made the comment, like, he went to the funeral, which was another creepy thing. I didn't know if that's the thing doctors do. Like, you have a patient die and you just, let me go to your funeral. That'll make everything fucking better. But then the phone rings and Anna's like, maybe you should get that. It could be work. Guess what, people? It's not fucking work. It's fucking crazy boy Martin on the phone. Like, thank you. I had a great time. Wow. And another sneaky part was when fucking Steve is talking to him. He, like, closes, like, two doors. Like, he goes into a bathroom, closes the door, closes another door. This is like some top secret shit while he's talking to little Martin here, which made it more weird to me. Like, maybe you are touching pee-pee, Steve. I don't know. But, and so while he's on the phone with him, crazy boy Martin is just like, you should come to the house and have dinner. And Steve was like, and this is all on the phone call the evening after he was over for dinner. And so he's asking him to come over for dinner. And Steve's kind of like, well, that's very nice. One day, maybe. Well, then next thing you know, Martin's like, tomorrow. And he's like, I've already told my mom that this is happening. I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, this little dude has this type of control over you. I don't know why, So Steve, next day, Steve's leaving work. Martin has already told him, we're cooking meatloaf tonight. You're coming over tonight. And so he's leaving work. When he's leaving work, you see something kind of run by. And as soon as the thing there, that's a little creepy fucker Martin is at your workplace just straight up stalking you, dude. And then we're at the fucking house that night. And while they're at Martin's house, like he really went. Like this dude, you got in your car, left work. I don't know what the fuck he told Anna. I don't know. I'll be working late, but this dude literally drove over to this little fucking psycho's house, and and he's asking Martin like, were you at work today? And Martin's kind of like lying. He's like, no, I wasn't there. And he kind of plays it off. And while they're eating, Martin wants to watch a movie. I don't know what time of the evening is. It's dark outside. Maybe it's the summer months where it gets dark at 6 o'clock in the evening. I don't know, but he wants to watch a movie, and Steve's trying his best to get out of it. And I was like, he's like, well, it's kind of late, and he's like, even the mom chimes in, who is played by Alicia Silverstone. This is where she comes in, and she's the mother to crazy boy Martin. And so, and even she comes out and she's like, oh, let's watch a movie. If you get tired, we can just stop it and you could come back tomorrow. Like, talking to him like, do y'all not know? Y'all know this fucker's married, got a family, all this shit, but they're just carrying on. And so while they're watching the movie, his favorite movie, which was his dad's favorite movie, which I'm a fan of the movie because you sit in the background playing Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. Great movie. And so they're watching the movie. Next thing you know, Martin plays the whole like, oh, a little stretch, a little yawn. I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. Now, when he gets up, says he's going to bed, he walks over and he hugs Dr. Steve. Like, it's fucking creepy, man. He goes off. Next thing you know, we got Mom and Dr. Steve sitting on the couch. And she comes out and asks him, how long you been married? I've been married for 16 years, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, you have lovely hands. They're so soft and clean. Like all doctors have soft, clean hands. And then she comes out and she goes, I remember your hands when I came to visit my husband in the hospital. And basically saying like, even my husband talked about your hands. And she asked him like, do you remember me coming to the hospital? And she's telling him, she goes, I was a little thicker then. I had different hair color. I've colored my hair different now. And it's like this little sick way of flirting, almost kind of like what she's doing. And she asked him, she's like, oh, did you like my hair now or better then? And he's like, oh, I like it now. Like what it is now. You're trying to be a nice dude. But first off, Dr. Steve, I don't fucking feel sorry for you. You're in this fucked up situation on your own damn fault. And so she asked him, it's like, do you want dessert? I made a caramel tart. I've never had a caramel tart. I don't know what that is or what that, I don't know. I don't like the sound of something when you say, do you want a tart? I have a tart. I don't know what that is. But apparently she made a caramel tart. She was real happy about it. And so while he's sitting there on the couch, she asked him, she goes, can I take a closer look at your hands? And so he like puts his hand out. She grabs the hand And she could have looked at it from a distance. He could have just put his hand out there, and she could have looked at it, but no, she grabs the hand, pulls it close. She starts sniffing the hand at first, like she's smelling it. Next thing you know, she's like licking on this Dr. Steve's hand. And then she starts sucking on some fingers, man. Like, I'm off like, oh, and then I'm thinking, oh man, Dr. Steve, you ain't about to fuck, crazy boy Martin's mama, are you? But then Steve jumps up. Steve's like, yeah, I gotta go, and then mama, she's like, oh, he's asleep. Don't worry about it. Like, mama wanted some that night. Mama needed her fix that night. She wanted Dr. Steve to deliver. That's what she was wanting. And he's basically like, no, I need to leave. And then she's gonna be like, I can't let you leave until you try my tart. What tart was she talking about? Was it that caramel tart in the kitchen? Or maybe she had a fancy name for her tart. I'm just wondering. She's fucking nuts, people. This bitch is loony. So then Steve leaves. Good job, Steve. You got yourself out of that situation. So now we're back at work the next day. Steve, going down the hallway, comes into his office at this hospital, opens up the door, goes in there, and what do we see? We got little fucking nut job Martin sitting at the fucking, in his office. Like, how does this fucking kid get in here, get down to this area of the hospital, and just get into your office? Do you not lock a fucking door? Do y'all's little doctor offices area where y'all, is there not like a special wing to where you got to have some type of clearance to get up in there? Like, can anybody just roll up in your office? Like, pull all your fucking records, whatever the fuck you got in there? Is it that easy? But no, we got Martin sitting up in his office. He comes in there and he starts talking to him. He's like, he's like, why are you here? He's like, my heart aches. He's like, I'm in pain. And then he starts talking to him about how it could be, is it hereditary, or whatever heart issue his dad may have had. And he tries to tell him, like, Steve's trying to tell him, like, oh, you're in good shape at your age, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, that's the same kind of thing you told my dad. And then I'm starting to figure out, like, oh, shit. Like, did you kill this old little boy's daddy? Is that what he's holding over your head right now? Do you feel guilty? But this little fucker's dad died on your table, And so at this point, Martin has taken his shirt off. Like, he's sitting in his office with his shirt off, telling him this story, and he's like tapping on his chest, like how his, chest hurts and shit like that. Creepy, man. Creepy. Steve, trying to be the good guy. I don't know what the fuck Steve's thinking, but he decides he runs all these tests on fucking Martin, puts all the little sticky things on him, puts him on the treadmill, makes him do some running, doing all those little testing him out. When it's all said and done, we got Dr. Steve in the room with him. Martin's over there still with his shirt off, pulling the little sticky things off. And then he comes out and asks Martin. No, Martin asks Steve about body hair. He starts asking him. Because I guess little Bob made a comment like how his dad had more hair than him that day. He showed him his armpits. So then Martin wants to see how hairy Steve is. Steve, you were in the hospital with this teenager and you find it okay to unbutton your shirt and then open up your shirt to show your chest and your belly, and then pull your arm back so you can show little fucking Martin here your hairy chest or armpits. Like, why this, like, I couldn't understand, like, why is Steve so scared of this kid? Like, I don't, I'm sitting there going like, what is it? The dude died in the hospital. It wasn't like, you caught, Dr. Steve stabbing your fucking daddy in the backyard of your house. And he died in the hospital, heart surgery type shit, And so I'm like, not really asking him. Martin then comes out and asks him to come to dinner again, right here in the hospital, while dude just got done showing him his fucking armpit hair. He's like, hey, I want you to come to dinner again. He's like, no, I really can't. A little crazy boy Martin, like, mom's gonna be really upset. I think she really likes you. And he's like, I think y'all make a great couple. Mom's got a great body. She lost some weight. She's got a great figure. And the whole and then Steve's trying to be like, well, that would be fucking crazy because I am married. I have a wife and kids, and this is not clicking with fucking crazy boy here. Um, and so he just kind of like it ends. Well, then we were at a cookout. We're at a cookout with his good friend Matthew, the other doctor. We got Steve, Anna at the cookout with the other doctor friend Matthew. And they're cooking up some fish, getting ready to grill some fish up. And they still, once again, come across as this just boring, snobby, stiff, stuck up type. Just when you see it, if you've seen it, you know, they just come across that way. And his phone at this time is kind of like blowing up. It is fucking Martin calling him, wanting to know where he's at. And Martin's telling him, like, basically, like, you know, I've noticed you ain't really spending a lot of time with me lately. And he's telling him, he like, apparently it shows Martin is at the diner they meet up at. Martin has ordered some fucking apple pie. And he's asking Steve, where's he at? Because he's just like, well, I already ordered a pie. I can bring you the apple pie. Just tell me where you're at. Are you at the hospital? Are you at surgery right now? Like, fucking nuts, man. And Steve just kind of plays it off like, you know, I'm busy, you know, and then after that happened, later on at the cookout, the doctor Matthew tells Steve, like, hey, I seen your friend Martin at the hospital yesterday. And he was kind of like, where? He's like, he was by your car. Like, I tried to talk to him and he just ignored me, you know. And so I was like, okay, so that was when you seen somebody that day, that day Steve was leaving the parking lot of the hospital, you seen something run by. That was the fucking crazy boy Martin. Well, then later on, I don't know when this is. It's not later on that evening because it's a different day. But we got Steve at home, sitting there in the chair in the living room, giving a little dog a snack. Well, here comes Kim rolling up into the house. Kim just comes home from choir practice. She basically goes and she tells her dad, like, apparently Martin picked her up on a motorcycle and brought her home. Once again, fucking father of the year, Steve. You just play off the fact that fucking crazy boy picked your daughter up and brought her home. And then he's just going to make the comment like, well, you need to be wearing a helmet. And she's like, oh, well, he gave me his helmet to use, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you know, you tell she really likes him. And she's telling about how funny he is, you know. And I'm just like, come on, father of the year. Like, you're just okay with the fact that this little fucker picked your daughter up and brought her home. Like, and first off, what was the plan originally, people, for the daughter to get home from choir practice? Because he asked her, like, why are you home late? Like, damn it, dude, do you not know that she had choir practice? Was she lying to you? Did you not dig a little deeper? Did you not like do some FBI investigating type shit? Because she just came home and said, oh, I was at choir practice. How do we know? Like, what the fuck are you doing, Dr. Steve? And so when she's like, oh, I'm going to go to bed, well, he goes to call fucking Martin. And I guess he may have had to go and question Martin, like, why the fuck you damn picking up my daughter? I don't know what he's going to do, but he's calling Martin. When Martin's phone rings, you see Martin out front of his house, out front of Dr. Steve's house. He ignores the phone call. He doesn't answer it. He looks at the phone, and he's just sitting there on his little motorcycle, dirt bike thing, staring at the house like a fucking sick fuck. And next morning, this is the next morning, they wake up, another day, it's time to get ready to go to school. We got Dr. Steve's waiting on Bob. He's going to give Bob a ride to school. And Bob ain't come downstairs yet. So he goes upstairs, kind of put a rush on him. Like, hey, dude, come on, we got to go. Well, you see Bob sitting on the side of the bed. Bob tells him, I can't move. I can't get up. And Dad just thinking like, whatever. Dr. Steve's like, yeah, come on, you need to go. He's like, no, Dad, I can't feel my legs. Like, dude can't fucking move. And so next thing you know, they're rushing him to the hospital. Anna, Steve, and little dude Bob rushed to the hospital. Get him up in the hospital. They're doing all these tests on him. There's nothing wrong with him now. The hospital, they're looking at him. They're doing the whole, like, poking his bottom of his feet with shit. Dude says he could feel it. And now at this point, he's able to walk around. doctors have done these tests. They give him the green light. Like, dude, we don't see nothing wrong. So they're going to release him. He walking down the hall. We got little dude Bob, Mama Anna, Dr. Steve. Nice little family leaving the hospital. And then the dad, Steve, he makes a little comment like, well, maybe there was like some test he was supposed to have at school today. And this was like saying like, oh, he faked all this because he had a test at school today. And even then the mom's kind of like, you know, yeah, like he wanted to fake it and spend his whole day at the fucking hospital, you know. So it was weird. And then so as they're coming down the escalator, they're leaving. Mama, Anna, the son, Bob. They get to the bottom of the escalator. Guess what happens? Bob falls over again. Legs ain't working. Down goes Bob. They decide now we're going to keep him overnight. And so they can't find anything wrong with him. Like the doctors are checking him, man. Like they're finding nothing. And the doctors tell him, y'all should just go home. Just go home for the night. Come back tomorrow. I don't know, parents. This is all in one day, pretty much. You just had your kid, your very young son, basically can't walk, can't move, falls over. You know, nobody knows what's wrong with him. But yet you're going to let a couple of doctors tell you to just go home. Go home for the night. You come back tomorrow, you know. Parents don't do that, man. Like if that's your kid, like you're not, good Lord, I couldn't drag my wife out of the hospital if something like that would happen. Couldn't have drug her out. She's going to be there by her kid's bed. And so she's just kind of like, yeah, you know, tomorrow I'm on my way back in. I'll swing by, pick up some donuts, you know, bring them in tomorrow, you know, and everything going to be okay. While this is going on, we're getting a little flash of the daughter Kim's on the motorcycle with fucking Martin, little crazy boy. Guess what, people? They ain't got no fucking helmets on, just riding down on this little dirt bike, riding down the street. And Kim looks fucking nuts, man. She looks zoned out. Just looks weird, crazy looking. Then she gets home this night. The same day, that little dude Bob couldn't walk, couldn't feel his fucking legs, fell over in the hospital, sitting up at the hospital. None of them are at the hospital right now. Nobody. Y'all just left little dude Bob all by himself. Mama Anna is out front watering some plants. Kim gets home. She comes walking up the front yard. Anna's outside. Mama Anna is smoking a cigarette, watering the plants. She's like, hey, where Dad? Dad's upstairs asleep. And I'm just like, y'all really did just leave my little dude Bob at the hospital. No fucks given about him. And when Mom asked Kim where she was at, she lied and said she was at some friend of hers house. No, she was out riding a motorcycle with this little crazy boy Martin. And she starts asking her that same night, right before she goes upstairs to go to bed, she asks her mom, she's like asking her how she feels, like, do you feel tired? And shit like that, which is kind of odd. Next day, we got Dr. Steve and Anna. They're walking down the hallway of the hospital now. And they're talking about how, like, he hasn't gone to the bathroom yet. And, you know, he was asleep, blah, blah, blah. Then they get into their son's room where Bob is at. They walk up into the room. Guess who's fucking standing next to the bed, people? It was fucking Martin standing right next to him. And he just starts talking to him, you know? And I'm just like, how does this little fucker just have free reign of the hospital? I've been in the hospital with people a couple times. Most of the time when you go to visit somebody, a lot of times it's got to be like friends. I mean, like family. Like family to get up in there. Like this little dude is 10 years old. If he's 10, 11, maybe. I don't fucking know. But fucking crazy boy Martin just rolls up in the hospital. Don't get ass shit. And he's telling him, he was like, yeah, I tried to help him go to the bathroom, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to go to the bathroom, and he's like, so he just peed the bed. And and you see Bob looking at him at one point, where Bob just like, you can't tell if he's fucking scared or don't know what the fuck's going on. Well, then, right as he's leaving, Martin stops by Steve, and he was like, I need you to come upstairs to the upstairs cafeteria. And Steve tried to play like I'm busy. And he's like, no, you need to come up to the upstairs cafeteria. Well, next thing you know, we're upstairs in the cafeteria. We got our dude, Crazy Boy Martin, and Dr. Steve. Crazy Boy Martin says, I bought you a gift. I feel bad you bought me so many things. He gives him a box. It's like a Swiss Army knife is what it is. And Martin is kind of upset that, you know, he hadn't spent a whole lot of time with me. You know, he gets him upstairs in this cafeteria. And he comes out and makes a comment like how Bob is like, it's really bad. And Dr. Steve tried to play it like, oh, you know, it's going to be okay. And then Crazy Boy Martin's like, no, it's bad. And he said, I want to explain this to you, because the whole time Dr. Steve is like, I need to get back down. And he's like, okay, I'm going to explain this to you really fast. And he starts rambling off. And he's basically telling him that you're going to have to kill someone in your family, one of your kids or your wife, for this to stop. They are very sick. It's going to happen to all of them. They're going to be the paralysis, just like Bob's already going through. Paralysis, stage 1. Stage 2, they're going to not want to eat. They're going to stop eating. Stage 3, bleeding from the eyes. And he tells him, he goes, once the bleeding from the eyes start, you have hours before that person is dead. To stop this, you're going to have to kill one of them. Just so you can basically saying you're going to experience, because my dad died and it was your fault he died. Now you're going to feel a type of loss. So to stop this, you've got to kill one of your family members. And it is, if you don't, they'll all die. And he basically tells him, like, you're going to be fine, Doc. Nothing's going to happen to you. But if you don't do this, your whole family's going to die from this process of going paralyzed to not eating to bleeding eyes to being dead. And so, and he basically tells him, he's like, you only have a few days to get this figured out, what you want to do. And that's when he tells him, like, when the eyes start bleeding, you have hours before it's all done. And apparently, you know, Dr. Steve didn't buy that shit, because next thing you know, we getting our boy, fucking Crazy Boy Martin, escorted out of the hospital. He goes downstairs to check on Bob. When he gets down there, the mom ends up telling him that he will not eat. And when he hears that, he automatically thinks about what fucking Crazy Boy Martin told him. Like, stage 2 is they won't eat. And so he's telling Bob, like, you're going to eat. You need to eat. And remember, his mom had brought them donuts. Anna brought the donuts. There's some box of donuts sitting there. Well, Bob is wanting this little fucker to eat. And so he grabs a donut. And you see him just start shoving it in his mouth. Like, he is like crumbling and pushing this thing in his mouth. Fucking Martin don't want it. And he's telling him, like, you want it. You do. And he's telling him, like, you have our permission. Like, me and your mom, we give you permission to eat this donut. And he doesn't want it. And when he tries to get it, he starts like fucking choking on it. And then his dad, Dr. Steve, and he basically tells him, he's like, he's got 5 minutes. He's going to eat this whole box. That's why he can't walk around. That's why he's falling over, because of him not eating. Like, that's his reason about being like, this is why, because he's just refusing to eat. And while this is going on, we're back at the house of Dr. Steve and Miss Anna, and nobody is at the house except for the little teenage daughter and our crazy boy Martin up in there. They're doing some reading, little flirt type thing. Next thing you know, Kim, the daughter, stands up, takes a little dress off, lays on the bed, bra and panties, and she almost had that same kind of weird pose that her mama had when mama played dead across the bed. And, you know, Crazy Boy Martin's like, you're the prettiest girl I know. And then he's like, I gotta go, you know, and it's just the way that it's like he almost has something over fucking Kim, the daughter, because she's like, starts feeling like, are you mad at me? Don't be mad at me. And she seems like so fucking desperate, man. And she's like, keeps saying, I'm sorry. And then she's like, out of the blue, she's like, oh, I love you so much, you know. And I'm just, I'm sitting there going like, okay, Crazy Boy Martin, what's your trick, dude? Like, what are you doing here? Um, but yeah, it's just, it's real creepy. Next thing you know, we're gonna have, they're calling in doctors, man. Like, they're trying to figure out what's wrong with this fucking kid. They can't find nothing. Like, they run all the tests they can run, anything. Nobody can find anything wrong with this fucking kid, Bob. Um, Steve isn't buying it, man. Next thing you know, Dr. Steve takes old Bob down for like a spinal tap type thing. I don't know what they actually call it, but it's like he was laying on his side. He took his son there, had him laying on his side, and he like put that needle in the spine and pulled that fluid out. I don't know what is it, a spinal tap. I'm not really sure, people. I'm not Dr. Smart, but did that shit kind of secret, like on his own. Like you tell, like later at night in the hospital, like he didn't run that shit through like the wife or nothing like that. Well, they're coming back into his little area where his room is, and he's coming down the hallway and he's in a wheelchair. And this part made me laugh because I'm fucked up in the head when it comes to shit I think's funny. But he stops the wheelchair, puts the brakes on it, like, come on, let's go for a walk. He picks little fucking Bob up, and you see him kind of dragging him down the hall. Like Bob's legs ain't fucking working, and he's kind of like moving him around. And next thing you know, he just kind of drops him, just like lets him flop in the floor. And little Bob goes down, hits the floor. And I'm like, damn, dude, just let him hit the floor. That wasn't it, though. He gonna pick him back up again. And he's like pulling him down the hallway. And this time he kind of lets him go in a kind of like, almost like throws him down to see if he's gonna fucking break the fall. Nope. Old Bob goes straight to the fucking floor. And like I said, the dad is not buying it, man. The dad, Dr. Steve thinks he's faking it. So he sits down with him and he's like, hey man, he goes, you know, we're gonna play this little game. I want to tell you a secret, you're gonna tell me a secret type thing. And he was like, and he goes on to tell a secret. And he basically tells a secret to his fucking little son. And he tells him, he like, when I was young, when I first started learning how to masturbate, like jacking off, he goes, you know, I would do it and only a little bit would come out. A little bit of liquid would come out. He said, I thought something was wrong. He said, because I'd go to school and I would talk to people and they were talking about how they had more, you know, when they jacked off, you know, more cum came out. He thought something was wrong. One night, he's telling his son this. He's telling little boy Bob, like one night my dad, I guess his dad drank a lot. Dad had drank a lot and he passed out. So he says, I went into my dad's bedroom where he was passed out and I jacked him off and made the come like I jacked him off and just like come all over the sheets. I'm just like, it was out there, man. And a little dude, he asked fucking Bob, he's like, okay, what's your secret? Bob telling me I don't have anything. I don't know, you know. And Mama Anna, she started to think a lot of this is like psychological, like it's all in the head, you know. But then later on at choir practice, guess what happens to the daughter Kim? Bam, down goes Kim. Legs ain't working no more. Now we got two up in the hospital. You got little boy Martin. Now you got, not Martin, but Bob, your little son Bob. And now you got your daughter Kim up in the hospital. Same problem. Legs ain't working. He's trying to get fucking Kim to eat. Kim's trying to eat like a little apple slice. As soon as she tries to swallow, chokes it up. Like, cannot eat, you know? And at one point, Dr. Steve drives out to Martin's house and he goes out there and I don't know what he's planning on doing. Martin didn't answer the door, so Steve just out there yelling like an idiot. And he basically telling him, like, if anything happens to my wife or kids, you'll die in prison type shit. Well, then he finally comes out and he tells fucking Anna about everything, about how, you know, the Martin's dad died while he was there, and tell him all this shit that Martin told him about what was going to happen to the kids. And then Anna's coming out and she's asking Dr. Steve, like, were you drinking that night? And this was about 3 years ago, which lines up with the 3 years ago that he hasn't had a drink, was that same night. And she keeps kind of asking, like, were you drinking that night? And he just kind of, and he's weird because he goes, surgeons don't kill patients. The anesthesiologist kills the patients. Surgeons don't kill patients. I'm like, this is fucking, you're fucking nuts, man. And so, and she's asking him, like, why didn't you tell me about all of this, about you going to see this kid Martin? And he goes, I felt sorry for him. You know, I even gave him some money because his mom was out of work. And then at the hospital, there's a phone call comes in. Right now, we got both kids up in the same room at the hospital. The daughter, Kim, gets a phone call. On the phone is Martin. Martin, when you see it, it shows you him out in the parking lot. And he's like, and he's telling her to kind of like come to the window. Well, she gets up and walks. Now she's walk to the window, and she's saying, basically saying, I don't see you. I can't see you out there type thing. Next thing, and we'll kind of speed forward through a little bit, but it is, I don't know what this dude has over fucking Kim, the daughter, but there's something there, man, because at one point she's even asking the mom, asking her about how, like, are your legs feeling numb yet type shit. So then the doctors at the hospital can't find nothing wrong with these kids. And they basically tell them, like, we can't do nothing else. You need to take them home. So the hospital just like, hey, you know, if according to us, there's nothing wrong with them, get them out of here, take them home. So they go back home, and some shit really gets strange once we're back at the house, people. Because at one point, the daughter Kim is even telling little dude, her brother Bob, like, you know, I'm sorry, that just know that, you know, we love you. Just know that dad loves you. You know, and so basically letting him know that daddy's going to have to kill you. Now, while all this is going down, Mama Anna went to meet up with the good friend Matthew that was good friends with fucking Steve, because she wanted the file. She had some questions about what went down when the old Martin's daddy died. Wanted to know, was he drinking and all this good shit. Well, then Matthew, the good friend of Dr. Steve, is like, you know, I can't give you that information. And so she's asking, like, I need to see this information. Was he drinking, blah, blah, blah. And then here comes where the good buddy Matthew's like, well, if I do this, what's in it for me? You know, quid pro quo. And so his Dr. Steve's wife, Anna, and this little diner is just her and that good friend of his, Matthew. And when he says this, she goes, I'll give you what you wanted that day at the cookout. And he was like, when? And she said, now. Next thing you know, we are in the little Land Rover of Mama Anna. And when I started hearing this, I was like, oh man, this dude, he wants that pussy. He wants to fuck to get before he gives her this information. No, people, he didn't want to fuck her. No. We're out in the parking lot. We're in the little Land Rover. All we get is Mama Anna jacking off Matthew right there in the car. Just jacking him off. You know, no fucking, nothing like that. Just some hand job. You know, she got to work in the pace. You know, the pace is picking up. And while this is going on, it's kind of like you're hearing him tell her the story about what happened. Like, yes, he was drinking the night that this little boy Martin, his dad died. You know, she's like jacking him off, and she finally got this info from him. So yeah, and then that was kind of odd, man. Like, I literally thought he was going to at least, you know, ask the fucker, but nope. Just give me a hand job in parking lot. I'll give you whatever you want. But so the kids are back home now. the issues are going on. You could tell with Steve and Anna. You know, they're having some issues because Steve's not wanting to buy into. He's not buying everything that Martin's saying. It's almost like he's just kind of like throwing it off. Um, and even Anna, the wife, she's like, "Whoa, let's just sit around and wait, you know, until I'm dead." Because he basically told him like the Dr. Steve ain't got nothing to worry about. Everything's gonna happen to his wife or his kids. And so next thing you know, we got Steve kind of looking out the window. Steve goes on a little trip that night. Steve goes and kidnaps fucking Martin, snatches him up, brings him back to the house. And not just snatches him up, like, he's beat the brakes off of him because he's roughed him up a little bit. And this kid is just fucking weird, man. And this is where it gets really weird, where it starts getting into, it's weird. And I'm not going to spoil this part for you. I do spoil a lot of shit, but this is the ending of it to me is so fucking good. So fucking good. And so I don't want to dive too much into it, but it's just good, man. It is a twist comes to it. It's gonna wind down to the ending, and it gets you to a point to where what happens in this thing to where Dr. Steve is going to have to decide who he's going to kill, because it gets to a point where he realizes like this is going to happen. I'm going to lose my wife and my two kids if I don't do something. So it's going to get to a point to where a little spoiler, his wife and his two kids are duct taped in the living room, hands tied, mouths taped up, bodies taped, feet tied, taped up, can't go nowhere, with a pillowcase over their head. 3 of them sitting on different sides. They got like one on the couch, one in the chair over here, one in the chair over here. And we're going to have, you know, and his way of figuring this out is he's got like this beanie cap on his head, and he's got a rifle, because earlier you'll see he has a rifle. And he is going to pull this beanie cap over his face and eyes and start spinning and just doing circles to where you forget, you don't know where you're pointing, and he's just going to pull the trigger. And it's not going to happen on the first one. It's not going to happen on the second one. He's going to do this 3 different times of him covering his eyes, spinning around, knowing that he's got a wife, a daughter, and a son, and he's just pulling the trigger because one of them's got to go. That's the only way. If he doesn't, they're all going to die. There is no other option. He has come to it. He has understood this now. Like, and it puts you in one of those positions where you will think to yourself by watching this, and you will go, what would you do? What would you do if it was you in a situation like that, to where the killing of the sacred deer, look it up, of what that kind of means. And it basically means to basically say like to stop something, or to, you know, you have to do this to make up for something you did. And put yourself in his shoes, and you're watching it, and I was watching it, and I'm like, holy shit, what would that be like, knowing that if you didn't do it, you're losing them all. They're all going to die. So you have to pick one. And just the crazy thought of the way he did it, where it was just like beanie cap over my head, I want to spin around in circles, and then all of a sudden just pull the trigger, and whatever hits. And that's what he has to do. And that's what's going to get you to the end. That's how this whole ending comes together. He's got to make his decision. And it was so fucking, the ending of it was so good. Yeah, and I'm not going to spoil it. So you're going to have to go check it out. If you've already watched it, then you know it. You know the ending. You know how fucking cool it is. But yeah, that's where we're going to cut this one off at. I want you to watch it. It's free on Tubi. I watched it on Tubi. It's free. It ain't going to cost you a thing. Killing of a Sacred Deer. This is where everything about this thing, the cast was so good in this one. The Barry, who played Martin, was just fucking creepy, man. He so good. Also, like I said, he played in Saltburn, so fucking good. Um, the daughter, there's always certain times there's people in the movie that you just have to dislike. The daughter I disliked. She just got on your nerves. There was a couple times though, Mama Anna, put a hand to her head. I wasn't mad at her, but cast was good, man. The story of it is there's some things that happen right there toward the end I didn't even get into. Of like, you can kind of put your meaning to it. There's like a part of like there's some feet kissing going on, and I take that back to like the religious. I grew up religious in church a lot of like the prostitute or whatever that kissed Jesus's feet for forgiveness type thing. And there's a lot in the ending of it, man, that comes in and it has you kind of wondering like what is going on? And you kind of put it all in there. You kind of figure it all out. But such a fucking it's crazy, man. You gotta check it out. Oh yeah, my rating on this one. This is a fun fuck. This is a good fun friends with benefits. Every now and then I could go back to this one, hit it up. I just want something to watch, check it out. Had a good time watching it. It was good. Everybody was really good in this movie. You know, so yeah, go check this thing out on Tubi. I've wasted enough of your time. Appreciate you all hanging around. Reach over, grab us a drink together. Hold on. Gentleman Jack break. Thank you. But I appreciate you hanging around with us while we talk a little shit about a movie. But yeah, it is a fun fuck for me. I will be watching this again. I want to know what everybody else thinks. Go check it out. Swing by in the comments. Let us know. Don't know what next week will bring. Don't know what we're watching, what we're going to talk about. So stay tuned. I've wasted enough of your time. Thank you again for hanging out. Now, we've reached the part of the episode, family. Need you to grab your drinks. I need you to pick up your shit, put your chairs away, and get the fuck out of here.